Hello, and welcome to Adding an Involved Organization. The Involvements form is used to document all of the various entities that are involved in an activity or incident, including people, other organizations, vehicles, and items. This training will focus specifically on adding involved organizations. There is a possibility that the organization you're adding here does not already have a record within your prospective system, so we'll add two organizations. First, looking at one that does already exist within our system, and a second time with an organization that does not. Before we get too far into training, please note that while we will be using the incident form here, the process applies to adding involvements on activities as well. To add a new organization involvement, click the Add New link. In the window that opens, we can see the linked organization field. This is where we can either search for or create a new record. Many companies choose to make the linked organization field a required field. By doing so, they have consistency in spelling, can help reduce accidental duplications, and most importantly, have the ability to maintain a history of that organization's involvement in all activities and incidents. There are a couple of ways to search for an organization here. The first is to start typing the name of the organization directly into the field to display a list of records matching the characters you have typed. The more you type, the more refined this list will be, but be aware that this will only display the top 8 matches. We'll see a more global search option in our next example. If the organization name is displayed, you can select it. Once selected, you'll notice that the details section will populate with information from that organization's record that has been saved in your system. We'll come back to this in just a minute. Next, we need to indicate this organization's involvement in this activity or incident. Also, how is this organization notified if this applies? As well, we can add in any contact person or phone number details if we have these. Both of these fields are free text, so you can manually type this information in as needed. In the details section, as mentioned earlier, we can see the details that have pulled in from this organization's general record. If any of these details need to be updated, you can add to or update this information as needed. But be mindful that this does not update the general record at the same time. This only changes this organization's details as they pertain to their involvement in this activity or incident. After completing this form, we will have an opportunity to update this general record. A little further below, we can see a couple of links to add request details. If this organization was performing any kind of an action that had been requested, here you can update the request type, a tracking number, the date it was assigned, as well as completed, and detail the person that this request was assigned to. The response details can be used to capture the information related to any organization responses, such as your police, fire, and ambulance responses, including when they were called, arrived on scene, cleared from the scene, as well as the name of one of the responders and the person that notified the organization. These sections may already contain data if that incident had been created from an activity. You will not see these sections when adding an organization involvement on an activity, as these response and request details have their own form on the activity data form. Because there are required fields in both sections, click on the red X in the top right corner of each box if you happen to open these sections but don't actually have any information to enter. Click OK to add this organization involvement. As mentioned earlier, if you have updated the organization's details, you may want or need to update its general record as well. Once added, ensure the organization is selected and click on the Go To link. This will take you to that organization's record within the organization's data forms. Here you can edit the general record, ensuring that these details carry forward should this organization be involved in any future activities or incidents. To return to the incident, click on the incidents in the navigation pane to go back to where we left off. Let's go through this process one more time, this time looking at how to add an organization that does not have a record within your system. After clicking the Add New link, this time we're going to click on the green plus sign in the linked organization field. This allows for two options. One, it can be used for a more global search of your organization's data forms. The previous method we saw for searching only showed the top 8 matches. This will show you all records that you have access to. The second option that we have here is access to the Quick Add button at the bottom of the window. Clicking this will open a new blank organization data form, which, once completed, will create a record that will be saved in the organization's data forms that could be selected again in the future should they be involved in a later activity or incident. Also, because this creates a new record that will be saved in your system, this process should be a last resort after exhausting all possible searches, so as to avoid creating duplicate records within your system. Try to complete it with as much detail as possible. One other consideration here is that the initial security settings of all records that are created within Perspective will mirror the security settings of the user who created it. Keep this in mind if you have higher security settings than the majority of other users, because if you do not set these settings appropriately, those other users may not be able to see this record, hence another reason for possibly having duplicate records within your system. After completing the data entry for this new record, click the Save button to close this window and return back to the involvement form. You'll see the details you just added to the organization record will populate the details section below, and we can complete this form in the same manner as we saw in our previous example.